I'm publishing some videos, so I'll do that while I talk. The Bible says something about as the widow pours out her story, which I have been doing now in writing and in video for 18 years now. I actually wrote and published on a website the basics of my Study of Evil website, the Love Game, Intermediate Games, Round 2, Scars and Other Signs of Mind Control, and MPD-DID, or Not, and Peculiar Tests. I had written them and published them on the web like in 2001, and I didn't meet God until 2003. I had also done a very important page about Harry and his connection with the single bullet theory and the John F. Kennedy assassination. And that's a long story, but that's also on the internet. And before I met Paul, I also found, and I don't know, I think it was the state of Florida database of corporations that Harry was Fleming O. Landsberg, a Scandinavian of Iran-Contra fame. Oh, it must have been in the archives of the Herald. I don't know where I found it. I'm not sure. But discovering that Fleming was a very rare name that only 30 people in the Landsberg family knew about, I figured that was Harry's covert name, or one of them. Fleming O. Landsberg. O means, I learned from the JFK Research Forum run by Rich De La Rosa, from one JFK researcher, that an O as a middle initial means apartment manager, which is in fact what Harry and Donna were in the last 10 or 15 years of their working life in Miami. And apartment managers are in a unique position to have the master keys to all the apartments and the deadbolt keys. People can add a deadbolt as long as they give the management a key, and Donna kept them locked in her office, and when somebody with a deadbolt needed to get into their apartment, she would go to the locked cabinet, use the master key for the knob key, and the deadbolt copy that the tenant had given them. My understanding is that Donna and Harry did that at night. They would go into people's apartments and torture and program them. Hypnotic suggestion, reinforced by electrocution, I think, and drugs, maybe? Injecting drugs, but apartment managers can be identified as spooks by O as the middle initial, and I learned that from a researcher on the JFK Research Forum. The first time I had the nerve to go publish or share the information I found about Harry and his connection with the magic bullet theory, it was on the JFK Research Forum. I had gotten Dr. James Fetzer's expert opinion, and he had gotten an expert opinion from a photographic expert. They thought that I had made my case. I had a collage of Harry from pictures I had from home, mixed in together with photographs of this man taking measurements with Arlen Specter, late senator from Pennsylvania, at the time junior counsel to the Warren Commission. Very offensive man. And the magic bullet theory was, they called it the single bullet theory, but it was an insult to every American, which I assume most Americans are aware of now. Or then, before I told them. I was only 4 years old when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. So, time to eat a protein bar because my brain's been busy. And then I have food I can eat too. Oh boy. Once again, I pour out my story. But I had concluded in The Crimes of Man Against Man as a green slime at the very bottom was ritual abuse and mind control of children. And I wrote that on the GNN forum, Guerrilla News Network. And I wrote, once that's exposed, there's nothing else. And that's a very helpful message because, I mean, there is a bottom. And you see it, and then the world ends, and Trump becomes president, God intervenes, and spares his children, and the world keeps revolving, ending, becoming more and more dictatorial and unreasonable, and the Bill of Rights probably isn't allowed to be printed anymore. It's very hard to find. Very encouraging. And our world is upside down, and Bobby Kennedy's leading a charge that's very important. Safety of children, safety of people as it pertains to the vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, because some of the reactions are unspeakably bad. It's possible that severe reactions are rare, but they're not being published, so it's actually hard to know. There's a former NFL player, I can't think of his name right now, but he was featured in an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the Children's Health Defense Network. And he has a website called C19, I think it is, Vax Reactions, maybe.org. I'm not sure. And he's got video testimonials and a lot of written testimonials by anonymous people. And they say they're not being heard, their doctors aren't hearing them, doctors aren't helping them, they're being ignored. Or being told that they're unstable or just having an anxiety reaction. And out of the 5 video testimonials that I remember, 2 of the women had lost the use of their legs after, I think they were both Moderna. So even if side effects are rare, which is hard to determine because the government is ignoring the reports. But the government has its own vaccine injury website, VAERS, VAERS. I think that's the correct acronym. They have, and it's very hard, I understand, to report to VAERS. You submit the report online, is my understanding, and there's a time limit. And if you reach the time limit before you're finished with your report and submitting it, you have to start over. And it's quite a chore, apparently, to report these, and people, I guess, are having to do them themselves because doctors aren't doing their duty in reporting them. But one way or the other, there are 600,000 adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines and 12,000 deaths. And some of the vaccine reactions are so serious that even if serious side effects were rare, and we're not going to know maybe for a while, they are so severe that I think it justifies my decision to not risk the vaccine. The alternative is you take your chances with the COVID-19, and I have followed guidance on, from different experts and things like that I've been reading, mostly on the Children's Health Defense Network website, of keeping my immune system healthy with vitamin D, C, zinc, selenium, and just overall, when I'm not eating well or I'm not eating fruit, make sure I get my C. Smokers also need C. E is important. Personally, I need iron. And many of us are deficient in iodine, so I just got some iodine. C iodine, I think it's called, a Life Extension brand. I've heard Dino reacting in a little bit of pain to some of the things I'm saying. I've said them before. People in general don't have the time, didn't have the time, to learn the details of the things going on in our world, because 2 working families, children, school, night classes, demanding jobs, If they watch the news, it's on the weekend, and I've noticed that CNN and them, they have, Sunday shows in, magazine-y type shows. Can't really learn what's going on in the world on the weekends with the news, is my opinion. And I've been a news junkie for many years, watching news all day, reading news all day, all that kind of stuff. So I picked up a lot of information. And Dino feels pretty bad. He feels pretty terrible. To know things about the truths about things, certain truths about the things in our world, many things that he didn't know. And he was not a truth seeker, he was a Satanist. And it's a whole different psychology and a whole different set of interactions with people that I don't know very much about. But he was also, I'm sure, a busy person who didn't have time to keep up with news and trends and laws and the decimation of the Bill of Rights. I don't know. But he was evil, so he may have been oriented against those things if he knew about them. All I know is that he and others have been oriented against me and Paul, and the very nice, pleasant love that we share, which in truth is nobody's business, and there's nothing wrong with it. So, this is making me feel better, and I think I'm going to wind down a little. I can only be lost in my own thoughts for a certain amount of time at a time. I'm trying to unbecome a news junkie. Because there are certain things it's just hard to tell if they're true or not. Or if they're Wag the Dog, you know? It wasn't Wag the Dog, the movie with Dustin Hoffman, where they did stage sets of a lot of this shit? A lot of the news shit? They create the news and do it on a sound set or something, you know. At one point I was told all these Dateline stories and all the people in them are fakes, are actors. I haven't watched police shows or the, what do you call them? LA Law. I haven't watched those shows because I know for a fact that they show that police work is very detailed and conscientious, and that laws that are broken are thoroughly investigated by teams if they're of a certain seriousness and all that, and I know it's all crap. It's all crap. Ordinary person goes to the police, they don't do shit. They're there to protect the powers, you know, the money. Everybody wants to protect the people who have money. So if ever the Bible were right about anything, it's a choice between God and money. That is the truth. It requires faith. To believe you'll be okay with God, and you don't need to focus on money. And somebody pointed out to me, I think it was last week now, today's Tuesday, Paul is God. And he has made no show of overt power that people would respond to or respect, like wealth or ships, stuff like that. So I don't know how many people are choosing God over money. God knows that. I guess. It is necessary to have money to eat and pay rent and stuff. And if it isn't, nobody told me. I assume those things will resolve and someday we'll be okay without money, but I guess this is a transition. I don't know. There's so much I don't know. But I rely on God to guide me. And I have for a very long time. I have since I was 21 years old. And I've gotten in some frightening situations, and one horrible suicide scenario that was triggered by programming of Remember Die, which must have happened many times to me when I was quite young, because it was quite pronounced in me after I had a memory that Donna, my mother, worshipped the devil. It was within a week or two. I was suicidal, overwhelmingly. But I had the memory in the middle of the day once, when I lived at Sunset Club Apartments in 1985, and it solved a mystery that was behind all my targeting, but it frightened the shit out of me, because I didn't know people actually worship the devil. I didn't know it was actually done. I'd never heard about it. I'd never remembered it. So when I realized what I was up against with Donna and Harry, it was too much. Target, puzzle, Bible. I had gotten that much. Devil worship? Real devil worship by suburban middle-class families? Yikes. I know I was in over my head, and so I had my own reasons for giving up, but I understand it was quite reinforced by suicide programming, which I didn't know until I'd heard later, or read later, that there was Remember Die programming. Many survivors, or most. I don't even know how many survivors of satanic ritual abuse and mind control there are. But I read a book, Safe Passage to Healing, A Guide for Survivors of Ritual Abuse by Christine Oksana, Oksana, Oksana. I think it's Christine with a Y, Christyne. And she states in the book that it is a pseudonym, that she doesn't want to be, I don't know how you'd say it, identified with this phenomenon any longer than she has to be. I think I have it right that she was a survivor. And she had hopes of just dealing with these horrible issues, helping other people deal with the issues, and then maybe moving on with her life under her real name. I don't know any follow-up about her. It was a good book. There were many contributors. Men, too. In my limited experience in support groups, really mostly women, but men, too. People had access to memories of things I didn't know about, but I could affirm by my feelings and working backwards that was also true for me. And I learned a lot from other people's experiences. So, I'm not the first wave of survivors. I think that came in 1980. And Michelle Smith, co-author of Michelle Remembers, is the first wave. And then the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, with a CIA front, kind of destroyed everything survivors had worked for. There was an LA task force of women against ritual abuse in Los Angeles, LA. And they put out a publication. It was a pamphlet, maybe a 10-page pamphlet of information was very helpful and enlightening, very brave. All women, I guess. LA Task Force of Women Against Ritual Abuse. They were targeted and I didn't hear anything from them. And then they popped up again, but it was different. These groups are just not allowed to survive. And I don't know how Christine Oksana has fared. Pardon me, because the government would do anything to find out who she is and target her. I believe that's true about Michelle Smith, too. As far as I know, there's no current information on Michelle Smith or her psychiatrist, Dr. Lawrence Padzer, MD, either. So, Carol Rutz published an important book, A Nation Betrayed, secret Cold War experiments performed on our nation's children and other innocent people. On our children and other innocent people. I don't know where she is right now. It was a very important book in my opinion. I had some contact with her, I think by email, but it may have also been by phone. But it's funny because she had left her husband of 18 years a little while before I left my husband of 18 years. And I wondered if 18 years was the going time span for these fake marriages set up by the government for survivor women and holy women. But it was Carol's second husband who helped her self-publish the book, and I hope with my heart that he's a good guy. As God knows, life is fraught with traps and danger for survivors. They're the most put upon of all our citizens. These adult survivors carrying subconscious loads that are bigger than planets. And they're the most put upon. So you're stressing. A person who is stressed by life experiences, either consciously or subconsciously or both, beyond measure. It's beyond inhuman. Target tender women who've had horrible experiences. And I know my experience these last 18 years, very little of it has been pleasant. There have been happy moments when I sleep, and happy dreams, and instructive dreams, and comfort like that, but for the most part that hasn't been the case. It seems like the nurturing is coming more now, and I treasure it beyond measure. So. I've had a protein bar and I have one box left. I'm not entirely broke, which hardly ever happens at the end of the month. So I might be able to buy more. I think I bought them with EBT on Amazon. But I actually have the money to buy a box or a couple boxes if I want to. $66 and change in my account. That's pretty good for the 24th of the month, I must say. Wisconsin, those of us with EBT are supposed to get the extra this month. It was approved. So far, it doesn't look like September is going to provide extra, but I'm not sure. But I read it on the internet, looking up Wisconsin EBT, that it will come August 28th, which is Saturday. And the minimum amount is $95 per household, and it may go to the maximum amount per household. I'm a one-person household, and my maximum has been $215. And I've been very grateful for that help. Purchased a lot of nuts, protein bars, sparkling mineral water, healthy things, not too expensive. I've shopped for bargains, but healthy foods, and like golden milk, which I don't take too much. That's turmeric and curcumin. Coconut sugar, what an investment. Coconut sugar tastes delicious, and I don't get any of that sugary, crappy feeling. It's like completely natural and not harmful. And it's wonderful. And I can't get anybody else to try it or care about it, but boy, it's a find for me. Put it in my coffee. Try to think what else. Put it on fruit. Well, Tony's only been here a few times, but she's been a really big help. And she cooked 2 pretty big meals for me to store in the fridge and have during the week, and I have been eating them. I had her spaghetti for lunch and for dinner last night. And her bean and burger recipe, baked beans and burgers with some vegetables, and a lot of garlic powder. Oh my god, it's delicious. So, but she was to have a job interview last night. To be a care provider in, it's not exactly a nursing home, it's kind of a halfway nursing home. I had a friend who lived there. I'd had a friend named Jim who lived there, and it was a nice place. And you're pretty independent. Yeah. He had an older female friend that had been his friend for a long time, and she had a private room. But she paid out of pocket for that quite a bit. Not all of it. I think some of it was covered by Medicare or whatever. So, Jim has a roommate, and a routine, and it's a decent place. It's nicely furnished. I understand the food's pretty good. He always knew the menu and followed the menu, and oh Laura, we're having such and such tonight. But I couldn't sustain a long friendship with Jim because of getting very depressed around him. And I have reason to think there was some, I'll just call it voodoo attached to that. I had a dream or a vision. Let's see. I believe my entire experience with the healthcare center on First Street and the Department of Community Programs and stuff like that has been since I've met Paul. But anyway, that's how I met Jim. And I had a dream or a vision one night that he was an ancient. And in my dream or vision, he was half behind some kind of partition and half exposed on the other side of the partition. And I recognized that he was an ancient, which is a very rare experience for me to meet an ancient. And that he was of questionable spiritual orientation, I'll put it. I didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy. But it turned out that I was getting really profoundly depressed around him, and it seemed to be lodging in my meridian area. I didn't even know what meridians were, but apparently there are spiritual centers in the abdomen or something. And I couldn't shake it off. So I had to step back from him one step at a time and just eliminated him from my life. And then after a time, I was able to shake it off and see how harmful it had been to me. So I think Jim, I don't know if what he presented to me and others was fake or just to me, but I think he's an evil man. When an ancient goes, boy, I think they take a lot down with them. They're very unique people. Ancients are unique, and they're highly respected, maybe a little feared. Very rare. In my particular experience, I've only seen two. And Jim is one of them. And I didn't know he was an ancient until I had the dreamer vision. So I didn't see it in his eyes, which is where I saw it in the first man I saw, who I recognized right away as an ancient. It was a pretty awesome fucking experience to meet him. He wasn't overwhelmingly nice or anything. I'm kind of neutral about it. He was an ancient, and that in itself is very impressive. Well, I'll upload this and finish uploading the last one or two, and then I think I'll just talk to Paul for a while.